One of the tweets, I said, our founding fathers, a guy responds back and says, those are not your founding fathers. Guy posts a picture of the Shah of Iran, says, that's your founding father.
Oh, so funny.
But that tells you what, a part of this, there's nationalists and there's white nationalists. White nationalists, Vinny, don't want people like us here.
I know.
They just don't. White nationalists are a very different model. You view me as go back to Iran. Deport Elon back to, what do you call it, South Africa. Deport Vivek back to India, right? And you make those types of comments. All right, I don't think that's majority of America. I think that's less than 5%.
That is the far
of
right.
America. Yeah, that's the far right.
Ultra-nationalists.
That's the far right. And the far left wants open borders and let everybody come in here. Let's legalize everyone. The far right wants, if you're not a white nationalist, get the hell out of here. The problem here is you as a consumer not knowing the position of the individual before they say it, and you think everyone is in that position. They're not. Not everyone's in that position.
My, oh my, have the tables have turned. Now, this is a person I didn't think I was going to speak about ever on my channel, but this is a person I am familiar with because, and the reason why I found out about him, and shout out to Rob over at Blacklight Revelations, because he was the first person that ever, I think, heard talk about this individual. This is Patrick Bet David. Now, he has a YouTube channel on here, and as you can see, the type of stuff that he's into, if you go in there and look on there and look at his content and all of this different type of stuff. He made this video where he was claiming to be all American, but then a white person, or as Sejihito calls it, a true American, came out and pumped this break and said, hold on, your founding fathers? They was like, who was this we and who was this Al you're referring to? No, these are my founding fathers. Your founding fathers are somewhere over in Iran where you're from. Now, I don't know if Patrick Bet David came over here or if he's first generation born or whatever, but he still has that accent. So I'm willing to bet that he is not first generation born. He mostly came over here sometime in his life, but he got his wake up call, and it is absolutely glorious because I'm going to tell you why that is in a second. This guy is unbelievable. Like, just listening to this clip right here. And I'm willing to bet he's probably going to try to figure out a way that he could try to get in their good graces and stay there. We told people when 45, well now 47, gets back in office, there was going to be some changes there. Everything that you thought you knew or were nesting in as far as 2016 goes and all those years, that's long gone. They're trying to get back to a certain place where you have little to no involvement. This goes back to the video, the Triple P that I did last year, where I was talking about the guy who said on TikTok that this white guy said you were nothing more than the vote. Now, this is a black MAGA person. He told him you were nothing more than the vote. This person might as well told Patrick Bet David the same exact thing, that you were nothing more than the vote. Like, you helped us to get to where we are. Thank you for your services, but your services are now no longer needed. And now he's finding this out the more interesting way. Now, this goes more than just the video that you heard with Patrick Bet David, because there's also some other stuff that came out about Patrick Bet David. One in particular that I already knew about, but another one I didn't. So let's start with what I already knew about him. The one thing that I already knew about Patrick Bet David is that he is anti-black. So this is actually a screenshot, and all I did, believe it or not, all I did was just go into Google and type in Patrick Bet David black people. And this screenshot came up. And as you can see right here, he's sitting there talking to this man named Bob Woodson back in October of 2023. Now, if y'all don't remember, I did a bed bucking entry on Bob Woodson because he's one of those old ancient Negroes. He first appeared on Dr. Phil a couple years ago, basically saying black people don't need reparations and black people are this and black people are that. Basically, a lot of the things that we have already heard before from PC. And he's sitting up there, and Patrick Bet David is sitting there talking to this man, basically agreeing, and they're basically having just a regular powwow conversation about the same type of things that Bob Woodson was talking about when he was on Dr. Phil. So I already knew his anti-black stance then. But what was more interesting was when he sat down with Roland Martin. Now I know we about to have a hell has frozen over moment with this, because we know how Roland Martin can get, especially with Black Americans. But believe it or not, Roland Martin actually was pushing back against Patrick Bet David in a discussion that they were having. Now, if you look at the dates, you can see which one came first. Roland Martin's one happened before he sat down with Bob Woodson, because Roland Martin was in February of that year. Bob Woodson was in October of that year. But believe it or not, Roland Martin actually gave him some pushback against what he was saying. I know the world has stopped turning. I know. Gravity is no longer the same. When I saw that, I couldn't believe it, especially since we've seen how Roland Martin has conducted himself in the past, especially when he had that discussion with Richard Spencer on his show, when he used to have one, on News One many moons ago. So Patrick Bet David definitely has an anti-black stance to himself. And if you don't believe me, all you have to do is you can go and look at those videos for yourself, and you'll see exactly what I mean. And we keep telling people a lot of the stuff that has been thrown onto us is now being thrusted onto them. And many of them, that's why they're crashing out on Twitter right now, because they don't know how to deal or how to handle it. Now that we've gone over what I already knew about him, let's go over something that I didn't know about him, which actually made this even more interesting. But before we get into that, let's read this post that Patrick Bet David put up on his page. He said, as an immigrant from Iran, I saw this as an edge. I didn't mind working 80 hours a week. I didn't mind the competition. All I wanted was a shot. This used to be the American way. Time to return to it. Take a minute to read. So he's basically talking about his lifestyle, or where he began at, the rags to riches story, so on and so forth. But him putting this out here was probably not the smartest idea, because that damn community notes is goated yet again and exposed him for basically the liar who he is. For those who didn't know about it, they know now, and they're using that against him, and I love it. So this page called The Unfiltered Truth posted the same post that Patrick Bet David did, and they said, here's the community note before they delete it. So readers added context, which is basically the community tab or the community notes feature. It said Patrick Bet David made his money by founding a predatory multi-level marketing pyramid scheme, which he then used to market himself as a business guru on YouTube. He is essentially a scam artist. Now, let me tell you something. The community notes is rarely wrong. As a matter of fact, every time people have been community noted on there, typically it actually has been pretty accurate. I remember one time I had posted something, not for myself, but I actually reposted something much like you see on this screenshot right here. And it actually community noted the repost, because it was what I reposted was wrong. What the person posted was inaccurate, but we were trying to catch the person and say, look, you're lying. You're clearly not posting anything of truth on here, and you're clearly wrong. And what's crazy is on the original post, community notes got that person too. So every time somebody reposted what they said, the community notes attached itself, that same community note notice, under everybody's post who reposted what that person said on Twitter. Every single time. They just had to let the people know, like, look, what you're reposting isn't accurate, because what they posted was inaccurate. And like I said, the community notes is rarely wrong. And then what they'll do is they'll go and post where you can actually find the accurate information. And the thing is, now that people know about it, people went in search of it, and they found videos actually alluding to what the community note said. So the community note is definitely not lying. But of course, Patrick Bet David is going to try to cover himself. So he replied with, or he posted up something to Elon Musk saying, hey, at Elon Musk, I appreciate the value of community notes and fact-checking misinformation, but this particular note falls short of the platform's stated objectives. It feels more like a personal attack tied to my stance on H-1B visas, resembling the flaws of Wikipedia, where anyone can spread libel or defame someone's character. Doesn't this undermine the integrity of X's commitment to fair and unbiased information? So now because he feels like because he spoke out against H-1B visas that he was unfairly community noted. But like I said, if you go back and look at the stuff to back up that community notes, it's pretty accurate. But see, he set himself up for that one. So now people are finding out about his dirty dealings or how he got into the position that he's in. It wasn't what he claimed it to be. And now he has to try to save himself from what's been put out there as accurate. Now that I think about it, I have to go back to this post in the part where he says, I didn't mind working 80 hours a week. I'm trying to figure out how in the world was he able to work 80 hours a week? Now, we all know the traditional work model is a 40-hour work week. Most people don't even like working that. But you're here to tell me you did 80 hours a week? That means you don't really have a life outside of whatever it is that you're doing. You don't have time for anything, like no fun, no family, nothing. Like all you're doing is just doing this. I think he got himself right. He shot himself in the foot by saying that I didn't mind working 80 hours a week. But man, like I said, the jokes practically write themselves. I don't feel bad for Patrick Bet-David. Like right now, literally right now, as I'm recording this, he's on there going back and forth with people about this part of the post right here. And then, of course, the video that I played for you at the beginning. It is what it is. They finding out the hard way. They just got to, like I always say, cope and endure.
I, 'cause